Good morning. Welcome to Harvest Moon Farm. If you're new here, if you have been here before, thank you. Welcome back. My name is Mickey, and today I'm going to make my sourdough following the recipe from the Seasonal Homestead, but I am going to use Spelt as part of my flour today. So I've got some Spelt here that I ordered. I'm going to mill it up in my mock mill, and we're going to get this dough ready, and I just want to test it out and see how I like it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add our starter to our bowl. We're going to add 200 grams of starter. Then we're going to add 650 grams of water into our starter. So I'm going to zero out my, turn this around here, I'm going to zero out my scale. So I need to get my hand off of it. There we go. We're going to zero that out. And then I'm going to add the 650 grams of water. All right, and then we're going to zero that out again. And then we're going to add 400 grams of just all-purpose flour, or you could use bread flour. There we go. And then we need 600 grams of whatever flour that you would like to use. So obviously we want to use Spelt. So I'm going to get a bowl. So I'm going to measure my grains out into this bowl, and then I'll run it through the mill. So we need 600 grams. Hopefully this bowl will hold it all. All right, and if you're trying to make sourdough or any actual baking thing, but sourdough in particular, and you're struggling, if you measure your ingredients, it works a lot better. Okay, so I'm going to set this to the side. I'll put my bowl, underneath here. Then we're going to turn this on, and I'm going to pour my Spelt into my mill. Alrighty, so we'll turn this off. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it and just get it out of our way. And then I'm just going to use my Danish dough whisk here, and I'm just going to stir this all up just until it makes kind of a shaggy dough. We want to make sure that our flour is incorporating all of that water, because we want to let it autolyze, and make sure that everything is being absorbed, because this is what's going to give us our best dough. So I'm just going to stir until I make sure that, until I don't have any more dry ingredients. And all right, looks like my flour is all incorporated. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is we're going to cover this up and we're going to let it rest for an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll add the next set of ingredients. Okay, so our first hour of rust is up. So now we are going to add some salt. So we want to add about 20 grams of salt. And then we're going to add some warm water to make it up to 50 grams. Of course, I'm spilling it everywhere. There we go. All right. So I just want to stir this up until the salt is pretty well dissolved in this water. This is why you want to use warm water. There we go. Okay, so now what you want to do is wet your hands. You want to kind of mix this together, and then we're going to do some stretch and fold, just sort of what I'm doing here. So what you want to do is pull up a chunk of the dough and stretch it out, fold it back in, turn it a quarter, stretch it out, fold it back in. And you want to keep doing this until the dough is not super sticky anymore. So a few times around is about what I've found to be the best, because it starts to get less stretchy as you go, as that water kind of works in. Okay, there we go. So now we're just going to kind of form this into a ball. We're going to put it back in our bowl, cover it up, and then we're going to let this sit for 2 hours, and then we're going to come back and do some more stretch and fold. Alrighty. So it's been 2 hours, and you can see that this dough starts really rising and kind of stretching out. So we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to grab it, stretch it up, pull it back down over itself, do a quarter turn, and we're just going to keep doing this until it is too tight, for us to stretch anymore. I love the smell of bread dough. Sourdough, yeast bread, doesn't matter. I just love that smell. I used to bake bread a lot when I was a teenager. Of course, I never heard of sourdough, had no idea anything even about it. So I made yeast bread out of my mom's old Betty Crocker cookbook. And then once I was an adult, I made a lot of whole wheat bread. I would make whole wheat bread, and then I'd make some honey butter, and we would toast it and eat it like that. Oh my gosh, so good. Even my kids liked it, which was saying something considering, kids. All right, so now just gonna put this back into a ball, and we're going to cover it back up, and we're gonna let it sit another 2 hours. Okay, so while this dough is doing its next rest period, I am going to start some seeds for, oh, whoops, I don't have all my pieces here. Okay, so while we're letting our dough do its next rest period, I'm going to go ahead and start some seeds for some fall crops. So I'm going to do broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. I'm going to try a fall crop of peas since the ducks ate all of my pea plants. And then I'm going to start some lettuce that's going to go in the bed where I pulled up my garlic. And let's see. And then I'm going to put some carrots. I think I'm going to plant some carrots in my green stock. So the first thing I'm going to do is fill my little containers up here, my little plugs, up with some seed starting mix. So I'm hoping, well, look at that. So I'm hoping that I've tried fall crops of brassicas before and I haven't always had the best luck, but I've never started them indoors before either. So we are gonna try this out and hope that we get something, since I got everything out kind of late this spring because of the weather and the garden. I'm hoping that I get some broccoli. Well, I hope that I get all of it, but broccoli in particular. Probably should have put some cardboard or something down on here before I started. All right. All right, so I've got my little trays full here. And let's see. I'll think about what I want to do here. I might start the peas in, well, let me just see how many seeds I want to plant before I start talking all crazy. All right, so I'm going to try and do 2 seeds in each of the broccoli plugs. They are pretty small, but if you can get a hold of them, oops. If you can get a hold of them just right, you can usually you can control them just a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and mark this whole tray as broccoli. If I can get my little tags open here. And I'm going to go ahead and put broccoli and the date so that I know when I started these. Today is July 10th. And I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of potting mix over the top of these. Okay. And then let's do some cauliflower. So the cauliflower says, oh goodness, I should bring my 70 to 80 days to harvest. Let's see, what did the broccoli say? The broccoli is, well, I don't know that if it has it on there. So again, I'm going to try and put 2 seeds in each little pocket here. So I'm going to oversow the number that I think I need for my garden. And hopefully I will end up with enough that do something. And if not, I'm only out a few dollars for the seed packet. But I really hope that I get something out of these. Okie doke. So same thing. I'm just going to sprinkle some soil over the top of this and kind of press it down a little bit. Oops. Because we just want these barely covered. And then I'm going to mark my little tag here. And this last one, I'm going to do my, I'm going to do cabbage, and I have a couple of different types of cabbage. Let's see, this was an 85 to 90. This one is okay, this one says, okay, 85 to 95 days after transplanting. This one says 50 days after transplanting, so I'm going to try this one. And we'll see what we get. All right, so I'm just going to do half of this tray in cabbage. And then I'm going to do the other half with peas. And then I think I'm going to do another whole tray with peas. Or I might do some other containers with peas. Not sure yet. So we may or may not get a fall crop of any of these things. I hope that we do, but like I said, if we don't, we're only out a little bit for our seeds that I already had anyway. So, and I'm just going to do one in each little plug here. just going to push these in, and then I'll cover them lightly with soil as well. Okay. Okay, there's those. Scoop up some of the soil that I got all over my counter. Alrighty, so here's my last tray. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it, and we'll plant it out with peas. Oh, we're not going to plant it all out with peas because I forgot about my lettuce. And yes, I know lettuce is really easy to just sow the seeds directly, but I want to plant some that's more like head lettuce and not just like a leaf lettuce. So I want to try and get some starts going so that I can plant those out to the appropriate spacing. So I should have done lettuce in that one and peas and lettuce, or peas in their own one, but that's okay. Let me see here. Romaine. Okay, so we're gonna do some romaine, and some I have, it's called tennis ball. I think it is like a butter ball, like a butterhead lettuce, not butterball, it's a turkey. So this romaine packet that I have, those are the coated seeds. So since those are pretty easy to see, I'm going to go ahead and put, I'm going to put 2, if I can drop them like I want, I'm going to put 2 in each plug. And I might actually fill all of this one up with lettuce and then plant some more peas in, where did that go? Plant more peas in some bigger trays. So I'm going to plant half of it out with this romaine and half with the tennis ball. Because I've gotten quite a bit of lettuce from what I had planted in my green stock. But I would like a little bit more. Wait, what is this? Oh no, this one forms a head. This one is like, kind of like an iceberg. This one is called igloo. So, and this is not coated seeds. So trying to just get a couple of seeds of this is going to be, well. So I saw a trick years ago. Oh gosh, that was a lot. I saw a trick years ago for planting out lettuce or carrots or something like that. I think this was actually for carrots, but you mix the seeds with radish seeds, and because radishes germinate and grow so quickly, you will pick your radishes before the other stuff is ready, and then you'll leave space for like the other carrot or the carrots. Oh my gosh, this stuff for carrots or beets or something like that. But my husband does not like radishes. I like them, but they hurt my stomach. So, oops, get back in there. Okay, so let's put a couple tags in these. So I'm gonna do, what did I do? Romaine and Igloo. All right, so now I will fill some of those little 3-inch pots or 2-inch pots, whatever I have, with more soil and plant some additional peas. But these we're going to take upstairs, get them watered and get them sitting on the heat mats, and then we'll wait for those to germinate. All right, so I've got these sitting on the heat mats. I've got the heat mats plugged in. And now, so I'm gonna give these a good watering. And it's nice and warm up here. There's nobody sleeping up here right now. I have some eggs in the incubator and these plants. So I've got some celery under the grow lights. Trying to get a second batch of celery out. The ones I have in the garden right now are growing really well. So I want to make sure I can get another bunch of celery out so that hopefully they'll be able to finish producing by, before fall, before it gets too cold. All right, so I'll come back up. I don't like how that one is sitting. Let's see. So I'll come back up tonight and probably add some water into this bottom tray. While I'm up here, I'm going to go ahead and water the celery that I have growing. All right, so now once these germinate, then I'll go ahead and move them from these warming mats over to my shelving over here where I've got the grow lights, and I'll keep those there until they are ready to plant out. All right, so now we're going to take our dough, which looks like this. We're going to dump it out on a floured surface. If I can get a hold of it. There we go. Okay. And we want to go ahead and separate this into 2 pieces. Alright, and so what we're going to do, get a little more flour on here, is we want to start creating some tension in what will be the top of our dough. So we're going to pull it out from the bottom and over the top, out from the bottom and over the top, and just keep spinning and doing that, and that's going to make that bottom surface, what's currently the bottom surface, it's going to make it very tight, and that's what's going to cause our dough to get a really nice rise when we bake it. So once you've done that, a little more flour on here, we're going to set that piece there, and we'll move on to our next piece. So you can do this like I'm doing with your hand, or you can take a bench scraper and flip it the other way and use it to tuck that bottom under like this. Either way is going to create the same results. Oh, I said my bench scraper's kind of sticking. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to do this one the same way. Just want to keep tucking that under like that. And it's going to form a nice tension on the top of our dough. And now we're going to go ahead, flour all over this. We're going to cover this again, and we're going to let it sit for 1 more hour before we do the final shape and rise. Alrighty, so it's been an hour. So we're going to do our last kind of prep of our dough. And then I've got some proofing baskets here. I'm just going to kind of put some flour in those, just enough so that the dough doesn't stick. And someplace I have the cover for this one and I don't know where it's at. So, all right. So we want to take each one of these. Goodness, they've kind of smashed together here. Need a little more flour because my dough is sticky. And I'm gonna, oh goodness, let's get some flour on that. All right, so I'm going to use my bench scraper here. I'm going to go ahead and go around this and continue to push this under so that it makes a nice tight surface on this. And this one's going to go in this oblong one, so I'm going to kind of keep it in that oblong shape. Okay, so now for these baskets, you want to put this so that the pinched side is up, so the smooth side is on the bottom. And so that's why you want to flour it as well, so that this dough doesn't stick, because your smooth, what will be the top of your loaf, is going to be on the bottom inside that basket. So I'm just going to keep doing whatever makes sense to you to kind of stretch that top into a nice tight surface. All right, we're going to cover, or we're going to put that in our bowls. Now we're just going to set these to the side, and we are going to let these rise for up to 12 hours. So you can leave them on the counter overnight. It's still a little bit early for me to leave them overnight. They would end up overproofing. You can set them someplace warmer and let them rise in a little bit warmer spot. You can put them in the refrigerator and leave them overnight. So I could do that if I wanted and bake those in the morning. I am going to put them in my oven with just the light on and let them rise like that so that I can bake them tonight. And I'm just going to set these on this cookie sheet so that it's just a little bit easier to handle them. So I've got the light on my oven. I'm going to set it in there. That will warm it up just enough to kind of quicken up this rise, and then we'll be back when it's time to bake them. All right, so one loaf is done. The other one is not quite done. So I'm going to put it back in for about 5 or 6 minutes. And this dough, this loaf overproofed, had all kinds of issues. So this loaf overproofed and stuck to the Banneton. So I had to do some finagling so it didn't rise, and it's kind of strange shaped, but it smells good. The other loaf looks a lot better, so we're gonna let it finish. Just want to give it a few more minutes. It doesn't seem like it's quite done in the middle. So we'll give it a few minutes and then we'll take a look at that one. Okay, so this loaf is much prettier. Okay, so we're gonna let both of these loaves completely cool before we cut into them. Otherwise, you know, if you cut into hot bread, you're gonna get a doughy consistency. So they do smell really good. So I'm guessing that some of the issues I had may be because of the spelt flour. I don't know. But even though this one looks a little funny, if it tastes good, that's all that really matters. So we're gonna let these cool, and when they're completely cool, we'll go ahead and slice into one and give it a taste test. Okay guys, it's the next morning. My bread is obviously cool. So disappointed, all of that work, and this is what happens when you let it overproof. So we are going to go ahead and cut into this dough and just see what it looks like. It's going to be tough probably because it overproofed. So the crumb actually looks really good. It's just short. So let's give it a little taste. It tastes really good. I think I like that spelt, that flour mixture. I just need to do a better job of watching the proofing. I think because it was already so warm in my kitchen yesterday, I should have just let it sit on the counter and not put it in the oven with the light on. But live and learn. We'll try it again so I can redeem myself here. Anyway, so sad situation. It'll still get eaten because my husband loves bread, so he will definitely eat that. So I just want to thank you guys for watching. I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate all of your support, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks.